And then, of course, he goes on in the book to tell you about there's no better way to destroy a nation than to debase its currency. And then he kept using a word called, or a term called, creative destruction, over and over and over in his book. Creative destruction. And, of course, it is a phrase used by a Marxist to tell about how they were going to destroy the economy, intentionally destroy the economy of capitalist countries. And that is what Alan Greenspan has done. You cannot have a new society unless you destroy the old one. Creative Destruction, his book, The Age of Turbulence, well worthwhile reading to find out, of course, who Alan Greenspan spent his time with. Of course, he spent his time with Henry Kissinger and David Rockefeller and all of the usual suspects, the elite who belong to the secret occult organizations that control our nation. And Alan Greenspan, either on his own or carrying out their directives, was using creative destruction to destroy the existing social order. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not happening by accident. They're going to intentionally destroy the economy of our nation. They're in the process of transferring our jobs and our wealth to other nations. They know exactly what they're doing. And when they talk about jobs and opening new factories, they're talking really about opening jobs and factories in communist China, in India, in Russia and Brazil, not here in the United States. But you go right ahead.
Well, I think it's important to remember that creative destruction is nothing but a purge of the system. And they know that under classical economics, that's the thing to do when you have these kind of problems that they've created. The question is, where do they pull the plug? We don't know that. But when they do, it's going to be dreadful. And they are going to do it. And it's planned that way. You know, these people have thousands of people working 24/7, coming up with these malicious, horrible ideas about how to destroy our economy and that of Western Europe and others eventually as well, so that they can implement world government. And so this is a relentless pursuit and undertaking. And that's why it's so important that Stan's program continues to bring the message like only a handful of others, unfortunately, and so that people can understand what's being done to them and who's doing it. And as Stan said, Alan Greenspan knew from the beginning all of the things that he and I know and many of you know, and yet he forsake that and took on the mantle of working for Satan. And that's one of the great reasons that we have the problems that we have today. He knows what's right and what's wrong, but he doesn't care. During his lifetime, he wanted wealth and power, and he got it.
Well,
in the process, he helped destroy the American and European people.
If you want to know what Alan Greenspan really believes, it's contained in an essay he wrote in 1966 called Gold and Freedom. That's Gold and Freedom. You can get it on the Internet, but we included that in our Financial Armageddon sellers. You need to get that and my talk on Financial Armageddon. You need to understand what Alan Greenspan really believes. In fact, Ron Paul had asked Alan Greenspan a couple of years ago to autograph a copy of that essay on Gold and Freedom. And then, of course, as Alan Greenspan was autographing it, Congressman Paul said, of course, you'd certainly want to renounce those views today, wouldn't you? And Alan Greenspan looked at him and said, I recently reread the article. I wouldn't change a word of it. You need to know what he really believes. And I believe he was being quite frank and honest. But he can't tell the American people they are intentionally bringing down our economic system, and this is going to end up impoverishing the vast majority of the American people, because you see, when you destroy the value of money, you destroy the value of certainly our currency, you destroy the value of your insurance policies and annuities and bonds and stocks and investments of all sorts. You destroy the economy, you impoverish the people, and it's only those who made preparations, gotten into tangibles like the people of great wealth are doing, who will survive the terrible period of crisis that lies ahead. Our telephone number, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or 464-8295. Dr. Stan, and Bob is talking about a number of interesting things. One, he thinks that perhaps Germany will drop out of the European Union. I'm not sure that the international will let them, but I think it would be better for Germany. Certainly the German people want to get out of the euro, certainly because it is really oppressive to them. They're having to finance the people in France and all the other European countries. If you look at Europe today, Greece is on the verge of default. Spain and Italy and Ireland and Italy are not too far behind. And if these countries begin to default on their debt, it would bring down the whole financial structure of the world. Of course, there's no way America can ever pay off its debts. Certainly our Social Security system is bankrupt, our Medicare system is bankrupt, and America is morally bankrupt today. And, of course, certainly we're going to have to just progressively erode and devalue the currency, and that way we can pay back our debts, but with worthless dollars. And, of course, with that will become the impoverishing of the American people. Well, I certainly, if you'd like to talk to Bob, our number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY. 1-888-24-LIBERTY or 464-8295. And we have Judy calling from Salinas. Hi, Judy. How are you doing?
How are you, Dr. Stan? And Bob, I'd like to stop calling these people elite, because I'm sure that they enjoy hearing us call them that. So we're not putting them down. We're sort of, from their point of view, we're honoring them and giving them allegiance. I wish that we'd call them either globalists and or Antichrist, because that's what they are.
Well, let's call them globalists.
Yeah, let's call them globalists, but let's stop the elite, because they just ruffle the feathers.
All right, Bob, what do you think about this?
We can solve that problem by saying those who think that they are elitists.
Well, that could be well too, but I mean, since they are globalists, we might as well use the truth and just say call them by that, because that's what they are, and they're not Antichrist because. They're not atheists because they're their own God.
Right.
So anyway, gentlemen, it's been nice. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Judy.
Okay,
Let's go to Tony, who's calling from Spokane. Hi, Tony. You have a question or comment?
Oh, yeah. Good afternoon, Dr. Stan. Well, I've got two questions, and maybe I can ask them, then I'll hang up. First one has to do with the Eurozone, the European market. It seems to me that there are several countries, including Greece, that would really like to devalue their currencies because of the problems that they're having, but they can't really do that because they're part of the Eurozone. Is there a possibility that the euro could just totally tank in its own? And my second question is concerning the fractional reserve system and the money supply. As people are paying off debt through either paying it off or defaulting one way or the other, wouldn't this make less assets for banks to be able to use as part of their fractional reserve scheme? And wouldn't that actually tend to decrease money supply? So,
all right, first of all, what about the Eurozone? What about Greece actually wanting to devalue but not being allowed to? And really the only thing they can do is default. What are your thoughts on that, Bob?
I'm going to listen on the air. Thank you.
Well, the Eurozone said, and the European Central Bank said, that if Greece does that, they can't be in the European Union. And I never heard of anything so stupid in my life. I think these people are desperate. Their experiment has not worked, and it's coming back to ground zero, so to speak. And they're just beside themselves that they can't make it work, and it'll eventually tear their European Union apart. which is an unnatural union in the first place. I mean, every one of these countries was inhabited historically and culturally by several tribes. I mean, there's places in Germany that you can go to that the people in Hamburg can't understand the Bayerisch that's spoken in Munich, or the Schwabisch that's spoken in and around Stuttgart and near the Black Forest. And there's many other dialects as well. And so how can they think that they can put together 27, 28 countries and make them harmonious when those countries within themselves and externally have been at odds with one another for centuries? It's unnatural. It'll never work.
But of course, Bob, this is what they tried to do when they put together the Tower of Babel and unite the world, and it didn't work then. It's not going to work now, but they're going to try it, because what they want is a one-world government with the destruction of the United States and the enslavement of people throughout the world.